is a Marine Corps veteran who served 8 years active duty in the intelligence community and reconnaissance Marine. Having faced the cultural challenges of transition in the battle for home, he set his sights on continuing the purpose of serving after service by fighting for his fellow vets on the other side of active duty. This led to the formation of his service-disabled veteran-owned small business, 3C Concepts, speaking, training, program development, where, among others, he developed a program transition concept called Veteran Rally Point, now recognized by the Department of Defense as a best practice model. He is co-founder of Eagle Ops, a veteran foundation where he serves as director of development and organizational management in their mission of connecting relationships and resources to bring our heroes home, one operation at a time. So I won't give you any more info. I'll let him share the rest. Stacy, the floor is all yours.
Awesome. Are you guys like, when you guys are looking at your screen, is your own person a very, very tiny box up in the corner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering. Sarah, thank you for that. And just for making the connection. It's how we thrive in community, by building connections and expanding those, right? And just sharing our message and why and what we're passionate about. So for me, that happens to be the military and veteran space, just because of my own personal journey. Incredible joy. You guys are, I'm up here in Oklahoma. You guys are down there in Texas. You're very lucky to have Sarah Tucker as part of you guys' team, because she's the real deal. It was a unique encounter meeting Sarah on the trail in the Buffalo National Forest in Arkansas, but what a just a sincere friend from across state lines I can say she's become. So with that, I do have my organization, Eagle Ops. I'll spend the most time on that. My private company, 3C Concepts, as Sarah said, that focuses primarily on speaking, training, and program development. And I do that at a local, state, and national level, all three of those. So speaking, training, and program development. All of those three areas also focus specifically in the military and or veteran space. So everything, I'm so privileged that my private company exists and is able to solely support veterans through development contracts and things like that. So, but my heart's passion, you guys probably, many of you could probably appreciate this, and I knew this from the beginning, that for whatever reason, sometimes it seems like forming a nonprofit that's culturally focused, in this sense, military and veteran, it seems like you can do more boots on the ground through a nonprofit. And so that was kind of always a vision and a dream that I had, but I didn't want to tackle that alone. So as I was just waiting patiently, looking for the right partners to form this organization, after several years of waiting, actually, the right folks came along, and one of those is a fellow Marine, Jonathan Shepard, and his wife, Jessica. And we formed the nonprofit organization Eagle Ops. That's really my private company, kind of brings the bread home, if you will. But Eagle Ops is where I apply a lot of my personal money and a good majority of my time to Eagle Ops and building that organization. So let me see if I can figure out how to share. To present now. See at the bottom. Hopefully that's the right.
You're going in the right direction.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So it says stop presenting. How do I share my actual screen? That's what I need to do.
When you clicked that present button, it should have given you three options of the screen, the window, and the Chrome tab.
It says I am currently.
Yeah, we can see your screen. We just see ourselves right now. So
okay, so if I let me try this. If I bump here, can you guys see that?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. So you can see that whole thing.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, well, unfortunately, I can't see any of you guys, but that's all right. We'll plug through this.
We'll try to hop in with laughs when needed.
Perfect. You fit right in. Now,
That's
for
practice.
this PowerPoint, and you guys, if you have any questions, especially since I cannot see you guys, so if someone's motioning, raising a hand to comment or question, I can't see you. Please feel free to kind of engage through this. It's not very long at all, but ask questions, fire at will, if you will. When I hit play from the beginning, does that expand you guys' whole screen? So can you see this easy enough, you guys?
It looks like it's attempting to load.
Well, you guys, because I cannot see you guys. So somebody give me a shout out when it's loaded.
It looks like it's stuck. There we go. Okay, we're good now.
We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
This could get tricky because I have a video next that I kind of use as an attention getter. So let's hope that goes. But so you can see you guys there on the front slide. The founders are myself, Stacy, Hester, Jessica Shepard, and Jonathan Shepard. Myself and Jonathan, we're both Marine Corps veterans. Jessica, do you guys, I never assume anything, but do all of you guys know what a Purple Heart is?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so for those of you who don't, a Purple Heart can only be received by a service member who was wounded in combat. So Jessica, she is the daughter of a Vietnam combat veteran who, through the course of his journey as a warrior, he received 3 Purple Hearts during Vietnam. So those are 3 different combat experiences that he had where he was wounded in all of those. So Jessica, though not a veteran herself, she is a passionate advocate for service members and veterans. So at the bottom left, and this is in the last slide to you guys, you'll see that's our email. And if anyone, for whatever reason, wants this PowerPoint, I can send it. And you guys can have this as well as our contact information. I can punch it to Sarah, who can get it out. So this next deal, you guys, is just a video I plugged to be able to kind of serve as an attention getter. So let me know if it works. If it's having trouble loading and doesn't load within a few seconds, we'll just bump right through it because it's not absolutely necessary. But hopefully it works.
We'll let you know.
Will do.
And there is volume, so.
Seemed to start loading, but it doesn't seem to be going very smoothly.
It's
Yeah, I
not.
can't see it.
Nobody can see it.
Yeah, we see the blank screen. I heard a couple of noises for a second, but that was it.
Well, good information to know for these platforms.
Yep.
We'll skip through that. Basically, that video is just kind of an attention getter from. That's actually Matt Best in the video right there. For those of you who don't know who Matt Best is, he's the founder of Black Rifle Coffee Company, if any of you have heard of that company. But so we'll bump into it, you guys. Kind of, Eagle Ops exists for a number of reasons. Our primary mission statement, however, is connecting relationships and resources to bring our heroes home one operation at a time. And if I could kind of sum up the driving heart, passion, and purpose of Eagle Ops, it's number one, to combat veteran suicide. We are losing more veterans to suicide than we are literally on the battlefield. So that's a tragedy that we have to fight, and we can only fight that fight together. And by together, I mean it's collective communities at home. Whether your home is Tulsa, Oklahoma for me, Dallas, Texas, San Diego, wherever. It's our communities localized that have to come together to fight this battle. So I created that visual diagram up there. I talk a lot with my hands too. I'm not used to, I've been on Zoom a whole lot, like probably many of you guys have been through this coronavirus situation. But that visual I created even through color, to kind of give a representation of the journey of a warrior. So we moved from civilian to warrior, and most of us went into the military right out of high school. So we went from kind of a cultural experience of being under the roof of mom and dad, meals, food, where to be, when to be, all of that stuff is provisional there within the home. And then we go into the military where we quite literally go through a process of social engineering, regardless of your branch. They have a purpose and a mission, to what I often call when I do training on military culture. It's deconstruction, transformation, and resurrection. The deconstruction of the civilian, they want to remove all of kind of who you are as a quote unquote individual, and raise up a warrior who's able to function as a unit. And being a part of that is critical to not only mission success, but to our survival in the military. Meaning no literal battle on a battlefield can or has ever been won alone. So we move into that, and we're kind of thrust into this world that's completely separate in military culture, where you're literally living on a military base, doing everything with others, in my case with Marines, 24/7, deploying with these guys, coming home with these guys. We live together, we die together. And then comes this time where many who served active duty are, there's often an excitement that, oh man, I'm getting ready to discharge and go be a quote unquote normal person again, a civilian, if you will. And we're mentally and emotionally completely unprepared for this culture that we're getting ready to go into. Keep in mind, you guys, that in the military, we went straight from home, so straight from the roof of mom and dad, being taken care of. Didn't have to worry about where the next meal was coming from. Didn't have to worry about medical, dental, any of that, housing. All of that was covered. Straight into the military to a similar environment where housing is provided, dental, medical, all of our healthcare holistically, all of those provisional things, food, are all provided. So it's from that environment straight into the military, where all those same things are infrastructurally put into place. And then we try to become civilians in a world of our fellow Americans who just can't understand the world that we're coming from. Whether we saw combat or not, if you lived in that world, there's an ethos by which we live, which is, literally for many of us, we lost friends on the battlefield. And, I have Marines that I served with, many of whom witnessed a fellow Devil Dog throw himself on a grenade to save the lives of his fellow Marines. So all of those battles, often referred to as the invisible wounds of war, when we try to transition, and there's just a cultural chasm that exists there that makes it very challenging for us to transition. And so what happens, to put it succinctly, is we come home, we end up isolating, and that isolation kind of leads to a deep depression that can result in depression, which is why I often call that transition the battle for home, because that's really what it is. That number, did that slide transition smoothly for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So I put that big number up there because 84%, this was a study that was released by the Veterans Affairs in April of 2018. It was the first study ever done of its kind. And that 84%, what that number is it points to ultimately veterans who are experiencing or diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and who are experiencing constant suicidal ideation. And the number of veterans that they did in this study, 84% of those veterans who are diagnosed or experiencing major depressive disorder and suicidal ideation, 84% of those veterans, the cause or the nexus to that diagnosis was loneliness. That's why I put that in there because it's such a powerful statement. It's when I kind of wrote the mission statement for Eagle Ops of connecting relationships and resources to bring our heroes home, one operation at a time. It's research like that factored into how I formed the actual mission statement. So we know as a nonprofit, I know through work that I've done all over the nation with veterans and service members that our biggest enemy as veterans and the communities and members within those communities who want to support our veterans is the fact that we're coming home and isolating, and then we're killing ourselves. That's what that study, a powerful study that the VA released, really affirmed that. And major depressive disorder is also a nexus or a cause to veteran suicide. That's why our mission statement starts with the word relationships. So we really try to put a focal point on relationships within our community to bridge those healthy relational connections so that from there we can bridge connections to resources when and where they're needed. So there's kind of our mission statement, you guys. That's just a kind of an organizational structure that I put together for a visual. Connecting relationships and resources to bring our heroes home one operation at a time. That is the mission statement of Eagle Ops. We have 4 umbrella operations, Reach One More, outreach, grants, and scholarships, where we fill many gaps across the entire state of Oklahoma. Whether those are veterans who are facing imminent homelessness because they're behind in their rent, or whether it's as simple as maybe being behind their electric bill, any of those things, we step in and we fill the gaps and things like that, and many other things. And then difference makers. That's just kind of a visual of the 4 operations. As Sarah said in the beginning, I spent many years with the Marine Corps Reconnaissance Element, which is that's Marine Corps Reconnaissance is our special operations community. So we're the equivalent from the Navy SEALs, the Army, Rangers, etc. Well, as an active duty reconnaissance Marine, anytime we went on mission, we received what's called a warning order. And in that warning order is a packet. In that packet, every team member receives a topographical map of the area where we're going to be operating in. We form kind of our operational mission plan, which means we break out and we study that topographical map and we plot our points on that map. First, insert, where's our operational site? And then there's a movement from insert to operational site and then to extraction. On that map, we plot points for that movement, whatever movement we're doing. Those points that we plot on the map serve primarily one single purpose. If we are ever ambushed as a reconnaissance team by the enemy and our team loses contact with each other as a result of being ambushed, every team member has that same topographical map. Every team member has those precise points plotted on that topographical map so that we have a rally point to which to reference, and we immediately move back. So if we're ambushed, we move back to the closest rally point that's plotted on that map to come back together as a team and then to move and to request extraction to be brought home. So I took that same culture that I experienced as an active duty Marine and made application to that for our nonprofit. And so that, what you guys see there, follow me to the rally point, that's one of our main branding. So we have those 4 operations that you see, and one of those operations being difference makers, and we have shirts for that. Reach One More, that's really kind of our bread and butter operations. We have numerous missions that operate in community under the umbrella of that operation, of Operation Reach One More. And we do that through rally points. And those rally points, you guys, are essentially community events for service members, veterans, and their families that we know will get veterans to show up, and we can begin to build healthy social connectedness through those relationships, and then get veterans connected to any resource that they need, whether that's connection with to healthcare through the Veterans Affairs, a job, housing, you name it. There's no resource that we do not and cannot get veterans connected to. So for us and for me, we have Reach One More, which you can kind of see right there in the arrow at the bottom of this particular slide. It was important for me in creating a mission statement, to be able to navigate, how are we going to live that? How are we going to live out that mission statement in our community and our promise to our service members, veterans, and their family, to make sure that we're, one, connecting relationships, two, ensuring that we're connecting through those relationships veterans to the resources that they've earned. Well, one, as I've already shared, we mobilize through rally points throughout the community, and service members and veterans understand whether they actually used pragmatically rally points as part of their mission or not. They understand, and I think really any and all of us can have at least a tacit appreciation when they hear the words rally point, what that implies. So that's one way. So we made that a key component infrastructurally to Eagle Ops. We will operate through rally points in our community. We literally, anywhere we are in the community, we have rally point flags that go with us, and or our tent as well that we set up. At those rally points, we have what I call our rally point pillars. And this is really where we ensure that we're living out that mission statement of connecting relationships and resources when we're at our rally points. And there are really three pillars, and you guys can see them. They're the ask, the oath, and the challenge. That first ask, and there are two asks that we do. Number one, at any rally point, and again, because we are a service member, veteran families, and patriots, so any member of our community can come to any Eagle Ops rally point. And that is simply because we believe it takes the entire community fighting together, the good fight, to bring our heroes home one operation at a time. So at a rally point, we'll do these three pillars. The rally point pillars of promise. We ask for a show of hands of all or any service member or veteran who is present at our rally point. Hands always go up for the veterans and service members who are present. When we see those hands, we say two words to all of our veterans and or service members, and that's welcome home. And that goes back to that original diagram that I created that I showed you guys, that the battle is for home. We say, and we encourage and admonish our community and others around the nation to actually, regardless of service era, branch, or anything, when you see a veteran, if you guys are traveling, you're in an airport, you see a Vietnam veteran wearing the Vietnam hat or anything, we are trying to shift the culture away from saying thank you for your service to saying welcome home, because that is the real battle. Our service members, many of them, and our veterans, there are oftentimes where we have either done or failed to do something, whether in a combat scenario or in a training scenario, that has resulted in us living with kind of a deep sense of regret. What's becoming more and more known in the veteran community is moral injury. And because of that, because we know the battle is for home, we have started shifting that narrative to saying welcome home. And thank you for your service is a reflection and a reminder of and to the past. We know that the battle for our service members and for our veterans, that's often leading up to a tragic suicide rate, is the battle for home. And so that's why we say welcome home. The second ask is we ask for a show of hands for any of our veterans who are at our rally point who are not connected to the VA, who are not connected and receiving the care that they need from the VA. We have many of our rally points, we have certified licensed service officers whose mission is to do that process, to start the process to get the veterans connected to the VA and any service connection that they've earned through their service to the country. So that right there, those two questions, and you can see at the top of that slide, connected to the VA, that's the second ask. Are you connected to the VA? If you're not, we do that on-site referral right then, right there at our rally point to partner organizations that provide direct pragmatic services like the VA. And we make that connection happen. We do warm handoffs for all that we do. So the second pillar is the oath. And I don't have the front of our card, which is not even the important part, you guys. I hope you guys are able to, hope it's big enough on you guys then to be able to see this.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So at every single rally point that we have, we do that oath together. On the front of that card in big, bold letters, it just reads, reach one more. We take that oath at every rally point. We invite service members, veterans, and their families, and any patriot who's present at one of our rally points to do that oath together. We invite everyone to take that oath together because we believe that anyone in our community can prevent a suicide. We absolutely believe that. And we wrote this oath also specifically having in mind the culture of the warrior. All of those who have served this country took an oath to defend this nation, knowing that commitment to this country, to the people of this country, could cost us our lives. And so an oath can have, and often does have, a very different depth of meaning to those who have taken a previous oath, wherein we lost friends on the battlefield for taking that oath. And so we do this oath out loud because we also believe that because of that connection to the military culture, when the veterans take it and then stating it out loud in the face of and in front of fellow veterans and their own family members, that when they're facing their demons, that the prayer and the hope would be that if they're in the dark night of their soul, that when they're having thoughts of suicidal ideation, that their mind will hearken back to the moment that they took this oath and made this promise in front of their fellow service members, veterans, family, as well as patriots. So that is the oath that we do, you guys. I promise to my fellow service members, veterans, and family that when facing my demons, I will not take my own life, but I'll reach out to my battle buddy because the battle cannot be won alone. We come home as service members after our service, and ironically, we lived in a world defined by the warrior's ethos. That is that no battle is ever won alone on a battlefield. Even snipers have spotters. And then we come home and we isolate. And so we try to remind at our rally points the veterans who are there that, you know, we come home and we isolate, trying to fight this battle, these hidden demons inside alone, when we know that the very world that we came from is testament to the fact that no battle is won alone. So we have to fight this fight together. And so we ask everyone to write, if you're there and you've received this card, write your name on there, write your number in there, give this card to a fellow veteran, and it doesn't have to be a fellow veteran. If you know a friend, a family member that's facing battles, give this to them as well. But don't just give it to them. Our admonishment is that when you give this card to a veteran, to a battle buddy, that you say this oath with them, that you make them say this oath out loud as well. Because when we say it from our own mouths, hearing ourselves saying it kind of has a different depth of meaning. And then that final pillar is the challenge. And that's, we admonish and challenge anyone that comes to any Eagle Ops rally point. When you leave this rally point, when you go back into your normal world, maintain a level of situational awareness. Look and be mindful and watchful to reach one more veteran in our community and get them connected back to our organization, so that we can get them connected to other veterans, their families, and the resources that can prevent a suicide. So that's our rally point pillars of promise, that how we kind of live out. This is a card. It's old. Now we're literally redoing this right now and kind of updating it to add, you know, new photos from those are all, everything that you see in those little bitty photos are from rally points that we've done. So you can kind of see our rally point flag right there that we have at every rally point at every event. Fire pit nights are a big one that we do. Freedom shoots. We have a ton of missions and rally points that operate under our Reach One More and Difference Makers operations. And these cards, like, there are a lot of restaurants in the community now that'll And that's a two-sided card. There's another side to that, this card, but actually, which I think you can see here in a second. But we share these cards. They're just a 4x6 card that people can see, take with them, and whatever. That's this right here. So we've already had numerous states reaching out to Eagle Ops saying, hey, we want you to bring Eagle Ops to our state and start to create an Eagle Ops mission on the ground in our city. We're not people that don't have an appreciation for, one, just what it takes to run an organization in your own city, let alone the infrastructural demands to be able to mobilize that at a national level is just crazy. But we're mindful of that. And so we're taking steps, which include, I've met with we have a nonprofit attorney, and I've already started conversations with him on what it would kind of look like to be able to start mobilizing on a large scale around the country. So we're already looking at that. But I kind of built this visual out here. So that's kind of a national visual, I guess you could say, of what it would look like as Eagle Ops grows across the country and we mobilize into other cities, kind of like a franchise. If you think in the private sector, if you guys are familiar with what a franchise is, we would kind of create a similar nonprofit national structure to how a franchise would operate. So, and that's just kind of a breakdown of it right there. So this is the front side of that other card, of that 4x6 I was talking about earlier that had a lot of photographs on it. This is just the other side of that card. That's our website. Join the movement. Anytime I don't know if Sarah share with you guys, but I have a bachelor's degree in English literature. And so words, etymology, linguistics, all that has tremendous value to me, and it has tremendous implication to our communities. And so I'm always mindful of how I use words. Sarah could tell you guys, if you were to go to my personal Facebook page, I don't even use my name on there. My profile name on Facebook is Marine Movin, M-O-V-I-N. And I do that for a particular reason, just like when I did the kind of the lingo on this card, but join the movement. Service members come home, we stop moving mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so everything that I do, whether it's branding or marketing Eagle Ops, my private company, my personal life, to reach people, primarily veterans in the world that I work in, these words have impact. So join the movement is always on that. It's pragmatic move. Just move. Doesn't matter what the pace is. Just get moving. This is another video that is it going through the slides all right now, you guys?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you may try to play that video. We might be able to see it because I can see it on the screen.
Oh, you can? Well, let's see if this one works. This is an event that we created. It's an annual event called Run with a Hero. And we created this event. It's an annual 5K, and we partner with another massive nonprofit in North Tulsa, which is kind of our city's at-risk area, if you will. So we partner with an organization called the Tulsa Dream Center, and they bring in 100 of our city's at-risk kiddos, and we pair them with service members, veterans, and first responders from our community to walk or jog this 5K together. And it's an initial step for our organization, which is targeted specifically on supporting service members and veterans, but to recognize other cultural normatives and to bridge those together to make an impact, a positive impact on our community. So for example, at-risk youth often struggle and battle to ever find a healthy sense of purpose. Veterans come home having discovered a profound sense of purpose, but experience a tremendous lost sense of purpose. And so we basically, just through some research and looking at those two cultural normatives, wanted to bridge that together. So if we could get veterans connected to at-risk youth, maybe they might rediscover a sense of purpose through mentorship of some of our at-risk youth. And the kiddos in our community may discover a healthy sense of purpose by being able to be connected to a veteran. and kind of forging a positive relationship there. Well, this is just a short video that we did of last year's. We shortened, it's called the Raw 5K, but that RAH, Raw, for those of you who don't know. In the Marine Corps, if you're ever on a Marine Corps base, you will hear Marines all the time when they pass each other, one of two things, oorah or raw. So we call this the Run with the Hero, and then it conveniently worked out that we're able to shorten it to the Raw 5K. So I will try, and hopefully this video works for you guys. Hopefully it's kind of caught up with itself and it'll work. If not, somebody just give me a shout out if it's not loading within 5 or 10 seconds, and we'll just bump to the next slide. But hopefully it'll work for us. Oh.
Well, it went to the next slide.
I know.
At least that's how it worked.
I know. I'm seeing that. All right, here we go. Let's see if this works. Okay, it's working on my end. Is it working on you guys' end?
Oh, I can just see
Thinking about it.
It tried, but I don't think it's going to come through. Definitely, we'll definitely share these videos with the club after the meeting, so that we can all watch them later.
Okay.
I think these are definitely going to be some cool additions to this presentation. I
will, as soon as I finish, I'll email this PowerPoint then to Sarah real quick. You guys can find, we're only just now starting to actually leverage YouTube. Literally just recently started.
Us too.
Okay, so well, you can go to YouTube, and if you search for Eagle Ops, we only have three? I think we only have like 3 videos in there right now. 2 of them are 5K event runs that we put on, now I'm trying to get to the next slide.
Well, we got to see a bunch of pictures of the 5K, so.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go. So that's kind of an overview, guys. If there's, I know you guys probably have more business to kind of knock out, but if there are any questions or even comments for that matter, I will shoot this PowerPoint to Sarah. I'm trying to figure out how do I get out of this thing now?
I might have missed this, but what states did you guys have a presence in?
Well, right now, Eagle Ops only has a presence in the state of Oklahoma because we're not positioned yet to be able to start. First of all, who asked that? I'm trying to see who.
Michael, here.
Michael? Okay, you're just an M, so you're not on video. Okay.
There we go.
We don't have the infrastructure yet, and that includes the financial side. We have incredible sponsors and supporters, and it's making it possible to support veterans all over the state of Oklahoma. But when you start expanding to other states, we have to be able to have the infrastructure to be able to support the organization standing up in that state. And that's a considerable amount of cash. And we are a nonprofit, so we have to be, we're so mindful. Plus, I mean, Jonathan Shepard and I are both Marines. You know, if you know anything about the Marine Corps, like we're famous for doing everything on the low end of cost, like literally having to fight to stay in existence as a war fighting organization. So we're so mindful of the fact of being a nonprofit that, and the fact that all of the donations that we get from private companies, from individual donors, we're hyper concerned about being good stewards of the money that comes into this nonprofit that's supporting veterans. We are absolutely willing to spend that money to stand up other Eagle Ops in other states and cities. We're just not there yet. The states that have reached out are your state. State of Texas has reached out and said, will you bring Eagle Ops here? The state of Florida, New York, Kansas. Those are the states that have reached out. And even that expansion, you guys, has to be very strategic. You've got to have the support on the ground infrastructure is multifaceted. So it's not even just our infrastructure. It's not even just the infrastructure of Eagle Ops. It's the infrastructure of that community and the will to kind of make it happen. So right now, we just in Oklahoma, but we're operating all over the state of Oklahoma.
That's awesome. I'm curious, Stacy. I've got a brother in the military, and he and his wife met in the Air Force. So she's no longer active duty, but I know that he has a very unique experience. He's a linguist, so he's not boots on the ground, front lines, but he ends up seeing a lot and experiencing a lot that he can't talk about, that he can't share even with his wife, who was, in the military alongside him. And I know from the little bit that he's told me over time that he has experienced some really traumatic things. What can you do for someone, a veteran who has experienced a lot but can't really talk about it, like legally, or they just have troubles opening up about it?
So the legal side of that prevents significant challenge. I know that because I was in the intelligence community. My formal training, my primary MOS, or military or Marine occupational specialty, was I was an intelligence analyst. I just happened to, inside that community, was a sub-unit, special operations unit, Marine Corps reconnaissance. So I became an operator within that community, but my primary mission was still within and under the banner of the intelligence community. So we are, not only are we strictly forbidden during active duty, but those who are in the intelligence community, we actually have to sign an agreement and a contract when we leave active duty. I can't even publish, for example, a book for a minimum of 10 years after I leave active duty without the approval of the Department of Defense. Well, not even the Department of Defense, National Security Agency. So that world is challenging. Generally, that world right there isn't the bigger challenge for most veterans, unless you were doing missions where the missions themselves were classified as top secret. And as a part of that mission, trauma was experienced. But here's the thing: even the VA. So I've been doing some work locally here in Oklahoma with the VA, because even in the context of the VA, with licensed clinicians, graduate level and doctorate level clinicians, there are still question marks, because we have warriors going in for treatment who've had the courage and humility, if you will, to go in and try to start getting some help to talk about some of these things. And they are afraid to even talk about these things to a licensed clinician, because we sign federal legal restrictive documentation that says we cannot talk about this with anyone. And you will not find this on our DD-214s either.
No.
So even clinicians in the VA are now starting to fight this fight at the federal level, because there's so much gray area of uncertainty. A veteran doesn't want to go to prison because he's sitting in front of a clinician, even with HIPAA and client counselor, if you will, privilege. There's so much uncertainty around that question that it is incredibly challenging. And so here's what I'm going to say. This is why Eagle Ops exists. It's to form those healthy social connections among veterans and their families. So let me give you a pragmatic example. One of our missions is simply called Fire Pit Nights. Fire Pit Nights is a mission of Operation Reach One More. And that's probably our most intimate rally point setting that we have. And there are times where we have to do 2 different fire pits because so many veterans and their families show up now. It's so popular here. But around that circle, there have been times where there's not a single dry eye around the circle. Because whatever reason, a veteran felt the confidence by being with fellow veterans and their families to share their story. Powerful, powerful stories. And that environment, what I can tell you is with our individual stories, there are things about my own story that when you get to the intimate details that even my own family will never know. I will never tell them. But when I'm in that environment with fellow veterans, there are many things about my story that I have shared that are cathartic to my own emotional, spiritual battles that I faced in the battle for home, where we can create that opportunity for veterans and service members to be able to connect in an environment that is conducive. Again, I did this post on our Eagle Ops page probably 2 years ago, and I wrote in all bold letters right on our Facebook page when you do a post, and I said, "What do you have to do to be a difference maker?" We often get tied up and wrapped up into this idea as individual human beings that to make a difference, you have to have some grandiose idea, or you've got to have $1 million to make some huge difference in your community. No, you don't. I wrote on that post, what do you have to do to make a difference? What do you have to do to save a life? Start a fire in your backyard. Invite a few people over. Have a conversation about something you're passionate about. You might just save a life. That's how Fire Pit Nights were started for our organization. And we were just interviewed 3 weeks ago by Chicago News. They reached out to us and said, we want to talk to you guys about the pandemic, the stay-at-home orders, and how this is impacting suicide in the veteran community. And we had one of our veterans, he's an Army veteran, did a deployment to Iraq. That oath card that you guys saw, well, he took that oath probably over a year ago at one of our rally points. And after the stay-at-home orders were finally removed in our community, our very first rally point was a fire pit night. He had the courage, though he struggled to get it out, at our fire pit night to say, had I not taken that oath, I wouldn't be here today. And he also, I reached out to him, and thankfully he was willing to do this because this is a big deal. It's hard to get veterans to talk about anything. But he was willing to do a piece with Chicago News on that piece. And he shared that story. So that setting, that simplicity of just starting a fire in the backyard has become now one of our main rally points for this organization. And we've saved, when we look at the research around veterans, service members, connection to the VA, et cetera, we've saved dozens of lives, prevented dozens of suicides just by starting a fire. So that healthy social connection, to your question, Sarah, even when veterans are not able to talk about specific details of their journey, there are always things that we can talk about. And it's more about, to me, it's always the question, are you willing to talk about the things that you can talk about? Because there's plenty of those. You don't have to give specific. I lived in the intelligence community for almost a decade. And I was still able to talk about things within that world within which I lived without giving away classified information. It is possible. It's more about, is there a willingness in the heart of the veteran? And if this, as it is in your case, if this involves a veteran that's married, if you're a male veteran service member, your wife is your number one priority, period. Period. That is your best friend in life. That's where it starts. And, I'm so thankful that at ELOPS, we're able to reach veterans who are closed off even to their wives. Example, fire pit nights. Again, the wife of an Army veteran who did numerous deployments, lost several friends on the battlefield. He's in Oklahoma. He's originally from Oklahoma. After 2 fire pit nights, his wife came up to me in tears and said, I've heard my husband say things around this fire pit that he's never even said to me.
Oh.
And so now their relationship, their marriage was strengthened, but we take those things as our organization operates boots on the ground. The admonishment to veterans that I'm always giving to veterans that I'm mentoring personally one-on-one who are married is your spouse is your best friend. That's your unit, your children. We think in terms of unit in the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I take all of that culture that I lived in the Marine Corps and I leverage it to strengthen veterans who are battling for home. And if it's a married relationship where there are children involved, it's the constant, steady admonishment that your family, that's your unit. That is your number one priority. And if we've got to be able to get spouses in that context, your family members in this context, they've got to be able to talk to their spouse. But that seems to be a challenge for so many, and even with your family members, both service members.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a challenge. And where a veteran is not talking to their spouse, we have found at Eagle Ops, just as I just gave that example, that there are times where when they get connected to other veterans in a healthy community format, that opens the door for them to be able, and for my veteran buddy whose wife came up to me in tears, she actually said to me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay that he hasn't opened up in our home because now I'm learning, and I don't need that one-on-one setting. Like this is transforming our marriage just because he's sharing and getting some of that out here. It's changing the environment inside our home. So in a perfect world, Sarah, where I wish that in the context that you presented, where it's a marriage involved, that they would be the very best of friends. But that in the veteran community, Ben, we are so boneheaded, like so stubborn, so arrogant sometimes, so prideful. So prideful that we have this thing, and it's true that those who've never served in the military will never understand our world. But why would I not want to help you to understand my world? Mm-hmm. When you want to understand my world, and rather than saying you'll never understand me and stiff-arming people who want to make a difference, and that's what we do, and that is a very unhealthy pride. That I'm able to make that cultural shift in my community because I am a Marine. And that's the fight that I fight. But if they're not talking to their spouse, they've got to be able to get connected to some other veterans in their community where that doorway can begin to open. And I hope with your own family, that battle doesn't continue. I know what I will tell you, Sarah, is there are absolutely things that can be talked about. That's way too easy to become. Working and living within the intelligence community can become way too easy of an excuse to not get real.
Yeah. So we do have another question from the audience, but we are hitting our time. So I want us to do the four-way test together, but Stacy, if you're okay sticking around for a few minutes for anyone else who has questions, then we can keep the meeting going for anyone who's got some more questions. But for those of you who have to go, I'm going to share my screen real quick so we can do the four-way test right there. All right, so four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1,
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it and number, will it be beneficial
For all.
I think we're getting
Awesome.
better at that, guys.
We're getting better at that. Our internet's syncing up a little better. All right, so for those of you who have to go, feel free to drop off if you want to continue the conversation. Julian, you had a question, so feel free to jump in and ask that.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Julie. I'm a picture. Sorry, my video wasn't on. But I really liked your point about saying welcome home instead of thanks for your service. I don't have any family members who have served, but I encounter service members quite often in my line of work. And it always felt so contrived to say thanks for your service, especially since I meet them so briefly. Are there other statements besides welcome home that we can say to promote a healthy transition to civilianship, especially in such a short moment that I have with these members?
I think, Julie, to your question, there's so much concern. I've worked with a number of universities with kind of their psych department. Totally useless side note. Division 19, if you guys don't know, the APA, or the American Psychological Association, is broken down into divisions. Division 19 is the Society for Military Psychology. And so universities, I've worked with different universities within the Division 19 of their campus, where that is often a question. So Julie, even the very question that you're asking is often posed to me on university campuses through their Division 19 component. And to your question, the way I really want to answer that is because that's such a common question. People, folks struggle. Some don't. Some are just, so outwardly social that they're like, "Thank you for your service," or just or whatever. Whereas some people, I think, feel like they may be walking on eggshells. They just don't know what to say or how to say it. But I think in terms of what to say, I think where we can foster a culture that leverages a consistent pattern, so that when I'm doing presentations at schools or trainings or whatever, I'm creating and fostering a consistent cultural pattern that makes it, one, powerful, but also simple. I come from the world of a warrior as an active duty Marine. And I can tell you personally, and having worked with veterans and organizations all over the nation, from this guy's standpoint, when someone says to me, "Welcome home," the power of that is so much more than "thank you for your service." Thank you for your service. And for all of you, here is candor from a U.S. Marine. Thank you for your service has come to sound trite. I never diminish that ever. When someone says it to me at an airport, when I'm traveling, I never, ever, ever diminish that. But I can tell you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, the simple words, "welcome home," and not trying to battle with or struggle with other things that you could or could not say. And even if you're struggling with "welcome home," do you want to know what you can say to a veteran that you see at an airport, or at anywhere for that matter? Something that would have powerful impact is to maintain fostering that culture of welcome home, but create a prelude on the front of it and simply say, if this is you, then you can do this. If this is not you, then don't do this. But if you sincerely kind of wrestle with, "I want to say the right thing, I don't know what it is," simply say to the veteran, I've always struggled with what to say. So can I just say, "welcome home"?
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
I like that.
Awesome. That's Really great advice, Stacy. I think that we've all probably thanked a veteran in our time, and it means a lot to hear some other ways that we can approach that. Any other quick questions before we hop off and go about the rest of our evenings? All right. Thank you so much, Stacy. We really appreciate it. For our members, this has been recorded. We'll get that up on YouTube soon, and Sarah will follow up with the presentation and the videos that Stacy shared. So thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
You
you
guys are
so
great.
much.
Yep.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Yep.
All right.
Everybody take care.